Welcome back, everyone, to episode 1 of the Unpaid and Underrated podcast, a podcast by the Massonomics Discord crew for the Massonomics Discord crew, unless you're listening and you're not in the crew, in which case, what are you waiting for? There's only 3 spots left. As usual, except for last week, so as kind of usual, I am Big Joey.
And I am, who has been on every episode, Big Kieth.
And I'm that big Mofo guy.
That big Mofo guy. The secret identity. So a lot of you are just
enigmatic.
A lot of you are just listening and can't see, but I will tell you, this is a handsome man. This is a handsome stranger that we are all almost meeting for the first time right now. So let's dive right in for the first dive right in. Gentlemen, what are you wearing?
I got a nice care package yesterday, and I got the beefy tees. So I am wearing the powder blue, baby blue, whatever you want to call it, Massonomics Working Hard beefy t-shirt. And as someone who I'm always one to criticize when my shirts don't fit, when it's really I'm the problem, not the shirt. But this extra large fits a fat guy perfectly. So if you're normally swimming in an extra large, you'll be really, really swimming in this. But if you're busting the seams in an extra large, this beefy tee will be perfect fit for you.
This damn shirt wasn't made right. How about you, Mofo?
So I'm wearing the neon lift shirt. This is actually the first shirt I ever bought from Massonomics. I went back in my emails last night to see if I could figure out which shirt was the first one and made sure I wore it.
Very nice. I don't have that one, and I regret not having that one. I am wearing the I want to say the 300th episode.
Oh yeah,
the anniversary shirt.
Yeah, I think that was 300 of
them. I've got the flag somewhere.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. One of my buddies who was over this weekend, who's is also a supporting member, always chuckles at the flag just because I like how embellished, I guess, if you will, the hosts are. So
yes.
he always gets a kick out of the bulging muscles.
I was looking at that today, and like Tanner's like aggressively holding a microphone,
which he's never done anything aggressive in his life. It's the most passive man. And it's just like the animated cartoon is just it's pretty good. I enjoy it.
He's just a big teddy bear.
Yeah. So what are you guys drinking tonight? What are you drinking over there, Mofo?
All right, so I'm not as big of a spicy water fan as a lot of the other guys. So I got a sparkling ice, classic lemonade. So it's about as close to sparkling water as I get, but it actually tastes what it says it is. So
nice.
I went fancy, and I am drinking the City Seltzer Berry Whip. It is boysenberry, black currant, and vanilla, and it is made here in Canada. It's technically a seltzer. And I think the difference between a seltzer and sparkling water is the amount of letters. I think that's the only difference I can find.
I don't think that's right. I think seltzer just tastes like more that just like white carbonation. If that's, I don't know, that's not really good.
No, that does not mean a thing to me.
Just plain seltzer water tastes horrible, whereas flavored sparkling water is good. So I'm digging into the bubbly collection again. I don't think I've had this one before. It's a strawberry bubbly. I don't know that I've had this one, and I'm actually kind of anxious to see what it is.
It's delicious.
It is pretty good. It's very strawberry, so that's on point. I'm a fan. So, welcome back, Big Joey. We missed you last week. It was fun. Big thanks to Kevin for filling in for you last week. You went to a baseball game, I think it was, or some last minute kind of thing came up. You got some free tickets or something like that, right?
Yeah. I won tickets.
Awesome.
From the place that shall not be named, because I technically work for one of the owners. And we just had a brief little, hey, let's do this little competition. And I won some tickets. So me and my best friend Jay went down there, had a few too many 15 Canadian dollar beers, and then took the train home.
What's that in US dollars?
400. No, the other way around, right? So 15 Canadian plus 32 divide by 24.
Carry the one.
I feel like in our lifetimes it has like flip-flopped and gone. Has it gone back and forth multiple times, or has it always been?
No, There's only ever been once that I'm aware of that we even came on par.
Okay. But typically your dollar is like 80 cents to our dollar kind of thing, or
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. Thought so.
And the Australian dollar for our 2 new Australian members is actually like way less. Like way less. It's kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah, that'd be weird to like just have a wallet full of, and I don't even get it. So like, is each bill just, you have like, are there just like $10,000 bills? And it's just, the way they would do increments would be so confusing.
Are they
I'm
Mexico or something?
No, the numbers are just numbers. Like 100 is still 100, but like if you're in US, that 100 only reflects like 80 cents of your dollar, right? Like if I have a $100 bill Canadian, it just still says 100. It's just when I go to give it to somebody, it's only worth $80 in the US. Or you just smarten up and bring US dollars when you cross the border.
So it actually, so when you travel to America, like, do you actually, it's when, so when you came to the Arnold, when you're coming to the Lift Hard, Lift Easy Classic in July, you basically have to account for that 20% difference, like give or take, or?
If I'm bothering to budget. So yeah. I did take out some cash the last time because I never want to be without money. But I don't think I ended up using much of the cash because everything is just put on MasterCard, right?
That makes it easier.
Love paying interest. Play exchange and interest.
But speaking of geography, as we're talking about him, little American and Canadian, we'll get a, I guess here it is again. We can't stop talking about Big Kevin. If everyone saw the post on the main podcast page where they, I believe it was Kevin went through and got a bunch of data from the boys at Massonomics and put together basically a map and a breakdown of how many supporting members are in each location throughout America, as well as the country, or at least North America, I think. So that was really cool to see. Did you guys see anything in there that kind of surprised you or anything that gave you a little bit of pride?
And there's 16 out of California.
That's pretty cool. How many, and out of those 16, how many do you think you know or have talked to?
So I've met Big Garrison. Met him at the Jug AI meetup back in September in Costa Mesa. So I got to meet him. That was actually before I joined the crew. So he was kind of like the tipping point for me when I was considering it. Then there's another guy, one of the Big Davids. He's also, I believe, out in Orange County. So he's not that far from me. But I mean, they'd probably run into him at some point. And then the other one I know of, the other Big David, the British one, I think he's up in Northern California. So might be a bit before I ever run into him.
Well, if you ever make it out to the Lift Hard, Lift Easy Classic in 2024, maybe you'll be able to meet some of those guys. What about you, Joey? Did you see anything? With any of the Canadian stats jump out at you where you were like, oh, that's pretty cool to see? Or like Scant's off by himself alone, I think was kind of amusing.
No. Big Keegan did reach out to me. He's from about 2 hours south of me. And that's about it. I love being into the Massonomics lore and all of that stuff, but I do kind of get tired of focusing on specific things like geography and is Ohio Midwest. Like I hate to tell you guys, I don't know, I don't care. and then talking about it every day, it's just kind of like if I glaze over anything, it's Chat GPT posts and is Ohio Midwest posts, and then I just kind of like, and then just I skip to the next line. But that's just me. I'm
with you on that.
Oh, good. Yeah. Thank
you. You're Mr. Chat GPT. You're literally posting Chat GPT.
No.
Okay, so you're the
Chat GPT is funny as hell.
The Midwest 50% thing. Of them.
The Midwest thing is you aren't in the western part of the country. Just I get the history behind it, but just let it die. You're not Midwest anymore. Now you're in the Middle East.
The ChatGPT stuff, honestly, it's just because I don't want to read a novel on Discord. So it's not like I'm not like anti-chat. I see that big long post and somebody TLDR this. I'm not gonna go through all of this.
I mean, I did use it to help me write a performance report, so that was nice.
For yourself?
Yeah. Nice. I didn't go word for word, but I plugged in what I wanted. It spit out some stuff that was like kind of ridiculous, but it kind of just triggered an idea, and I was like, all right, cool, now I got something. So at least if you're brainstorming and you can't figure something out, just write a request in there and it'll spit something out that looks like gibberish, but it might help you figure out what you want to do.
Nice. So it just basically helps with bullet points. That's not a bad way to use it. So closing on
Did that help you when you helped write for the Arnold Netflix documentary? Or did you use ChatGPT to do that as well?
So when I got hit up for the documentary, that was actually pre my awareness of ChatGPT. But I only wrote a little bit, where it talks a little bit about pumping iron. That's about, I think, 8 years pre-birth, but somehow I have some pretty good knowledge on that.
I thought
you were there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I thought you
I'm
were
just on
there.
my second life.
That makes sense. Speaking of the Arnold Netflix documentary, Keith, you got something in here that you wanted to chat about that.
Just in general, it was if you haven't watched it, watch it. It was really, I think if you guys haven't seen it, watch it. It was very enjoyable. I mean, I think everyone that's part of Massonomics is somewhat of a meathead and will enjoy watching, it's like a 3-hour documentary to 3 1-hour-ish docs on him, and pretty much from his early years up until present day. So it wasn't on par with The Last Dance, but it was better than 75% of the documentaries people are pumping out. So definitely go check it out.
I have not. I started watching it, but the kids started screaming through it. And I am actually subscribed to the Pump Club, and I listen when I can. It's 8 minutes of your day at maximum. But there is something about Arnold telling you about health and fitness that just hits differently than when other people do it. I don't know if that's just me, but like when he tells me about the benefits of caffeine versus, some random stranger, I'm like, well, Arnold said it. And I kind of just like listen more to him when he says it. I guess it's an authority that my brain gives to Arnold.
So what I'm not familiar with that. Is that just like Arnold has like a little 8-minute podcast thing or something that just hits every couple days or something?
No, it's Monday through Friday.
Okay.
It's an email and a podcast. So the podcast is him reading the email.
Okay.
But it is just like daily fitness, daily health news. Every Monday, he gives you your weekly exercises. Every Friday, he gives you a goal to hit on the weekend. And sometimes they give recipes. But it's mostly him just trying to build a more positive area of fitness. And it's only about 8 minutes. So if you want to listen to it on your way to work, it's awesome. It's Arnie just talking to you about, the benefits of cardio, the benefits of drinking a coffee in the morning, how carbs are good for you, and why you should do push-ups and things like that and things of that nature that he really, coming from him just means more to me than just coming from some guy screaming at me.
Well, he does like talking about coming a lot.
Yeah,
he's always coming.
He's coming in the gym. He's coming in home. He's coming always.
I gotta interject, guys. This drink is too much. It's like, I understand they call it berry whipped, but this is honestly like drinking whipped cream.
I was going to ask, is the whipped part because it has like a dairy cream flavor to it?
It's just so overwhelmingly vanilla.
Yeah, I don't like vanilla as a flavor.
I might have to move on to beer soon. I apologize in advance.
Well, it wouldn't be a podcast without Joey and his Keats.
Oh, no, I don't have Keats today.
Oh, Jesus.
You wait. I got a special one. I
want him to pop it out.
So I don't know if anyone else was excited to listen to the live recording last night, as we always do on Wednesdays, but one of the hosts pulled the rug out from under us at about 7:30, 8 o'clock, and so someone asked, like, "Hey, is there going to be a link to the episode tonight?" And he's like, "Nope, we recorded a sneaky episode last week, so you're shit out of luck, basically." So that kind of I don't know about everybody else. Like, I really enjoy just sitting there, and a lot of times I'm like, the last thing I do a lot of nights is just play video games for a couple hours. Well, not a couple hours, like an hour at the most, and just throw a podcast on and listen to some video games and then go to bed. So being able to not listen to the podcast on Wednesday kind of was depressing a little bit. So I don't know. That was my little tidbit of I don't know. I think if I knew about it in advance, it wouldn't hurt. So it didn't hurt, you know what I mean? But like, it just, I am a person that does not like change or surprises at all, as everyone should know by now. So like an hour before the podcast is supposed to start, I was like, oh, I guess I'm not going to listen for 45 minutes tonight. Damn it.
Well, they would normally make an event. And when I didn't see the event, I just assumed there wasn't going to be a podcast recording. Isn't Tommy in Florida? Like, did you mention that during the recording with Vintage Weights fella?
He might have. He must have. Well, I know he has. I saw his story. Yeah, Puga. Yeah, Rob. I was actually talking to Rob a little bit ago. He's a pretty good buddy of mine.
I found some old weights in my basement. I've sent you those pictures, right? The old cement Yorks that I have.
Oh, there's I don't I might have seen them in a store, but I don't think there's personally seen them to me. But if they're cement, they're not worth a damn thing.
No, I'm not looking for money, but like it's kind of cool. They're just
Yeah, it
literally
is.
plastic encased in cement, and I've got some weeders.
Yep, those are pretty common.
I've got some blue weeders and some pig iron downstairs too that I just kind of found. I might try and restore, or just leave it
the
to
weeder
rot.
sand weights.
No, these ones are actually iron. They're blue iron. But
Nice.
when I ended up just starting to lift at the house, my dad was like, "Oh, I've got these weights," and I was like, "Well, that's not enough." So I went to go and buy some weights, but it turns out I had like a 1.5 inch pig iron bar that no weights in any store fit on. So I ended up having to buy an Olympic bar. I'm calling it. I'm moving to booze.
So I wanted to harken back a little bit to the geography, more or less. One little tidbit on that is so more or less like let's see. I'm sorry, I'm just rambling here. Supporting members that are basically people that are supporting members that are not in the Discord. I didn't think that existed other than a couple people, but I met one. I ran across someone that actually lives in my hometown that is a supporting member and is not on Discord whatsoever. And because basically he liked a comment that I made about being in Western New York, and then I stalked his profile real quick, and I was like, oh, this kid trains at a gym like 5 minutes from my house. So I was like, I DM'd, was like, hey, are you supporting a member? He's like, yeah, I just never made it over to the Discord. And I was like, okay, well, that's cool. Now, good to meet you. Come over and train at my place anytime you want. He might be coming over this weekend. I'm not sure, but regardless, it's just kind of neat to think that like how many supporting members do they have? Like how many envelopes did one of the hosts mail out today of people that aren't actually in the Discord? Like, I'm curious if it's like just like 10 or 15, or if there's like 30, 50 people that aren't actually in Discord.
I wonder if, go ahead.
Let's say they're definitely missing out on Perk City by not being in the Discord. Like, what's that?
Yeah, that's a lot like buying a really expensive car and then using like the worst kind of gas. Like you're definitely not utilizing your supporting member. You're literally just handing them money every month and then not doing a single thing that comes with that money. It's like walking into McDonald's going, here's $20. I'll see ya. Like,
yeah, the host with the hair is definitely okay with that though.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, they don't have any problem. I was doing the math just on who is in the Discord. And let's just say they're at the minimum. Like that's a mortgage payment a month in just supporting member dues, I guess we would call that, like dues. It's a lot of money.
In some places it is. In some places it is.
Yeah, definitely not.
not in California, I'd imagine, unless you're living in a shack.
Yeah, or you bought your house over 10 years ago.
Well, do we want to do a little follow-up and rate of last week's episode? Is that something we want to do? Is that we want to talk about Rob at PGH and how everyone's feelings about that episode? It's been a newer segment, so we're kind of as listeners, you're like, as you're listening, you're like, well, these guys really don't know what they're doing, and like we're kind of figuring out as we go. It's like some segments come and go, some segments stick around. We're kind of druthering it out on the spot.
Sure.
It sounds good to me.
All right. Big Mofo, do you want to go first?
Absolutely. So when I was first listening to it, I was like, man, this one sounds pretty good. I don't know what to rate it though. Like, I mean, everything's pretty solid. If I compare it to some of the previous episodes, every episode so far has been about a 5. I think I definitely rate this one a 5 JD Power Associates awards. Mainly because Big Rob is a Air Force vet, and me being Air Force, so he holds a special place in my heart. Plus the boys, they do a great job every time. So absolutely solid 5 JD Power and Associates.
I will agree. Except when you said that if you look at the other ones, some of those were 5s. I would argue that those were also 5s. I do want to say that I had one moment when they were talking about the hip leg blaster. And since I don't watch, I only listen on my way to work. And I kind of could just envision when Rob goes, you know what? Talk amongst yourselves. I'm putting it on. To me, that's one of the funniest lines I think I've heard in a long time. Um, so I'm definitely gonna have to say, with all of that and all of my druthers, um, I'm gonna actually go a little lower than I would normally go on this one. I'm gonna go with the 5 JD Power Associates.
That's
Solid,
reasonable.
solid score. Give him a good average so far. So, uh, I think I made a comment about how one of the hosts keeps on getting all my buddies on the podcast because I've been lucky enough to be actually somewhat friends with like I don't know 5 or 6 guys I've been on the last year and a half, and Rob's a pretty good buddy of mine. I met him at home gym con this spring and kind of hit it off. We knew each other before that, but regardless, uh, I always enjoyed listening to anyone talk about vintage weights or just vintage anything. So. Yeah, he even got a little jab at me because Rob did come up to my hometown and buy a pair of deep dish plates out in my backyard. Obviously, he drove about 5 hours to come get him, and instead of just saying, "I'll just send Kieth a link" because he can go buy them because he clearly wanted a pair, which I don't blame him because it was his first pair that he got. So, I was debating on knocking some points off for that, but solely because I selfishly heard my name on the podcast a couple times, we'll go ahead and give it 5 JD Powers.
Now, just before we jump into that next section, I had a little thing written here. Now, Big Aaron, you actually were involved in the invention of the JD Power Associates. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Oh man. I hate to say it, but you were misinformed on that one. I was actually trying to help a competitor to JD and Power establish a new rating system. But man, JD and Power, they got a lot of money. They got some really good lawyers, and we just had to give in, and just like with the boys with removing some of the particular logos, we had to do the same thing and just concede.
That's fair. That's fair. I think my source on that is it was drunk. So there, I could see how that story got mixed up there, but I appreciate some insight into that. It's really cool learning all of this stuff about you. Oh, can I call you
Absolutely.
Aaron? Is that okay? Sorry, Big
Yeah,
Aaron. I wouldn't call you just Aaron. That would be uncouth.
I mean, I am a little larger than average. I think I'm your first guest that's above the 6 foot mark. So yeah, go ahead and call me big.
It's like
Makes me feel good.
6 foot a million based on the camera angle you chose today.
I know, right?
Well, what do you think, Keith? You want to dive right in, get our guest on the horn?
Yeah, let's see if Big Aaron Mofo will answer the call. Let's get him.
All right. Big Aaron, is that you?
Yes, yes, hear that? You hear that ringing? Oh, hey guys, what's going on?
Hey, welcome to the podcast, Big Aaron. How are you doing, buddy? I'm gonna go ahead and fire off one of my. I always seem to. I definitely forgot this question with Spoon, so I was gonna go ahead and get it out of the way. So, most important thing for me is what brought you to Massonomics? Tell me your Massonomics origin story. How many episodes you listened to? Why are you supporting member? Just give me all the good deeds about you and Massonomics.
Yeah, so I think I discovered Massonomics probably back in like 2016, just seeing their like lifting legends posts, their versus posts, and their rookie cards. And just because of some of the powerlifters I was following at the time, like they were posting the versus cards or the verses and the rookie cards. So I started following them. I was like, oh, these guys got some funny stuff. And I actually didn't know about the podcast initially. I remember checking out their website, looking at the clothes. I wasn't too into the beer parody thing at the beginning, so I didn't buy anything right away. And then later on, a couple years later, I was looking for some more podcasts, and I'm like, oh, let me check out these Massonomics boys. I think that was like late 2019, and I'm a little OCD, so I started from episode one. And I did not listen to a new episode until I was completely done with the back catalog, which took me about I think a year and some change because I only listened, to and from work. So I think early 2021, I was finally caught up, and I'm like, oh, where's that one guy? Like, there's that big guy that moved out of the country, and then like they had another big guy on there talking that happened to be related to one of the other hosts, and like what's going on? There's so many changes going on, and I don't know what's going on. It doesn't jive with what they got going on in their Instagram, but yeah. And then kept looking at their clothes and was like, oh, the designs are changing a little bit. It looks like there's a little bit of growth here. I'd listened to these guys quite a bit. They're great, providing me quite a bit of humor, helping me on my ride to work, teaching me how to get strong, stay strong, and use my strength. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna throw you guys some money. So I'm happened to hop on one summer, and it's actually 2 years ago, roughly to the day now, that I bought, this neon lift shirt and the black Massonomics icon shirt. And just the more I've listened, the more I've loved the guys. One of the hosts, the one that has the hair and the beard, he reminds me a lot of one of my childhood friends too. So like when I'm listening to him, I actually hear my buddy who I'm still friends with. I've known the guy for over 30 years now. And so I kind of hear him and them a little bit. It's like just makes the boys more relatable. I feel like they'd be, some guys you could just have some beers with and just have some laughs. So what I got, that covers about everything right there. I don't really miss an episode. I listen every week. Usually either Monday or Tuesday on my drive to work, depending on, when I get into it. I'll even stop at another podcast that doesn't exist just so I can listen to that episode and then go back to that non-existent podcast.
Now, I want to point out something here that's in the notes, but is pretty should be well known. You also have probably been the most supportive of this podcast. I believe that you were there from the day we started planning. You were on the first planning call, and you have been listening to every podcast, and you sometimes join live when we don't really put the link out there for people to do that. So just briefly, like, how are you feeling about the growth of the Unpaid and Underrated Crewcast?
Now, I got to say, from day one, you guys have been doing a pretty good job. The flow's starting to kick in. You guys' banter's pretty good. You guys mesh well really together. I have missed one. I did miss Big Rich, Big Spoon's episode because I had to get a haircut, being Air Force, got to have my hair a certain way. But other than that, I try to pop in for a few minutes just to see what's going on. But I do try not to listen to the whole thing because I want to hear it once it's actually coming out and edited. Plus, I also don't want to make you guys uncomfortable, like you're being watched or anything like that. So trying not to mess with the flow, but also catch it, make sure you guys know that you got support out there. I think you guys are doing a great job, and, the longer you guys can go, it'll be great. Hopefully, we run through we'll call the first group of people, maybe the founding members. Once you run through those guys on guests, it'd be nice to get some of the other folks in the Discord crew. Definitely interested in hearing, especially from the chocolate chips. I love hearing like the perspective from a lot of women that are, into strength and stuff like that, because, it's more common now. It hasn't always been. Like, I've been in the gym for over 20 years, and, 20 years ago when you saw a woman in the gym, like, she wasn't trying to deadlift. She was just trying to, be a little cardio bunny. And now these girls are getting after it and lifting bigger weights than a lot of the boys are. So, yeah, it's been great so far.
Stay tuned. You're in luck.
Awesome.
Obviously not to spoil anything. But that in the works. But you mentioned, now this is the second time you've mentioned the Air Force.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned that you have a Darth Vader mask, but you left at work. So what's it like building the Death Star for the third time?
We told the Emperor after the second time we shouldn't do this again. And maybe when we rebuild it, not to build it 100% identical with the same flaws, but, the way the Sith are, like, they're set, this is the way the dark side goes. We're going to win eventually. It's all about, it's just like with the Massonomics podcast. It's all about longevity, how long you stay in. Because if you stay around long enough, you keep doing it long enough, eventually you're going to win. So I think the Emperor feels that way. I don't know. He's been killed off a couple times, so we'll see what happens with this third round of the Death Star.
Well, they say that the sure sign of insanity is changing the way you do things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So speaking of getting killed off, we almost lost you in 2020. I heard you were in a pretty serious car crash that you had to have some serious rehab to recover from. Is there anything about that you want to chat about?
Yeah, so it's funny because it like aligns up really well with like the shutdowns from COVID and whatnot. But the gains are going good at that time. I'd actually just finished my second training cycle with the original Juggernaut AI. Hitting some, I finally got my bench back over 315 at the time. I hit 315 for a double. I had a 465 squat, and my deadlift doesn't go anywhere, but I was finally able to break 500 pounds off of a 1-inch block. Can't pull it from the ground, but at least I got it from a 1-inch block. And I was stoked. I lost a little bit of weight just to kind of like slim down because I was trying to, bulk up. I stopped stepping on the scale when I hit 250 because I didn't want to see it anymore. Trimmed down, and then I was just driving home one night from work, and it was raining. Just happened to take the wife's truck to work that night too. And I got T-boned by a dude that was like drunk and hopped up on who knows what. If you guys want, I can show you guys pictures one day, but this dude's truck, his driver's side, he had no tires on the wheels. But it spun me around, rocked my head real good. My left shoulder was a little jacked up. My left hip was messed up. Nothing broken, because I'm kind of solid. So, things don't break as easily when got a little bit more mass on you. But did mess with my head a little bit. I suffer from migraines now. Now my memory is not as great as it used to be. I would say I'm still smarter than the average bear, but that gap isn't as big as it used to be. But, it is what it is. And it's taken me a few years to kind of start getting comfortable with lifting heavy again. I was actually pretty jazzed with the garage gym competition lifts just because I, was able to break 1,000-pound total. And actually I just did a RP 10 lifts a couple days ago. So, I hit 365 for 4 on deadlift with double overhand, no hook, no chalk. I hit 305 last night for 5 on squats, which felt good. And then I hit a 255 on bench for 5. Felt pretty solid. So I'm definitely not back to where I used to be, but like at least these things are coming back. So
now, why no chalk? Was that more of a challenge to yourself? Do you not like chalk?
I was wondering that too. I was actually wondering that too.
Like if you had said no straps, no hook grip, something like that, like I get that, but like I don't look at it as an accomplishment. I don't know. Like, oh yeah. Sorry to cut you off. Like why no chalk?
Honestly, because I'm lazy. I don't feel like cleaning myself off afterwards. And it is part of it is a challenge.
You don't just lick the chalk off? Like, is that weird? Am I the only weird one?
I mean, I don't have a great sense of taste, so I probably wouldn't taste what it is anyways, but
just tastes like gray powder.
Yeah, exactly. I like being able to, like, when I've never pulled like with a mixed grip. I'm always done double overhand either with straps or with hook grip. And I actually haven't pulled hook grip in about 2 years now. But I was able to usually get a couple reps at 405 with double overhand, no hook. I was using chalk at the time. But like, I'm like, my goal is like, let me see how strong I can get my grip. Let me see how much weight I can hold. Like I'm off of like blocks where the bar is right above your knee. I was pulling like, I think mid 500s with double overhand, no hook grip. So like my grip's pretty good. Just unfortunately, the rest of my body doesn't seem to like pull the deadlift correctly to, get more weight on that. Cause based on my size, I should be lifting a lot more than I do, but it is what it is.
Did you get your grip from when you were a kid hunting crawfish and eating them raw? I heard that was a thing that you had in your childhood.
So it wasn't crawfish. It was actually man, why am I drawing a blank what those things are called? Those crab-like things that are like the perfect creature that have stayed the same for millions of years. We use their blue blood for medicine, stuff like that. Drawing a blank on the name, but no, I think that's a dinosaur.
They are dinosaurs, man. They look just like a freaking dinosaur.
Someone in the Discord is going to pop in like after this episode, like, how does he not know what that is? But yeah, the shell of those things like just really hard to crack. So like about like 6-7 years old, we're sitting there just like trying to like force them open eventually.
The horseshoe crab.
Yeah, horseshoe crab.
Yeah.
Those suckers, man, they're delicious.
They are also not platypus.
No, they are not, and they are not dinosaurs, even though they've been around for a long time.
That was a good callback. I'm sorry, Keith, I cut you off there.
No,
but that
you're
seemed
good.
like a good segue into that random fact, the fact that I knew about Big Aaron.
Yeah, we had a lot of contributing supporting members give us a lot of data that they knew about Aaron. So we really appreciate you guys reaching out to all that. So speaking of a bad memory, Aaron, I want to ask another question here. So I heard that you survived a really serious car crash in 2020.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. It was right around like the time of the COVID shutdown.
It was that very well.
He's messing with your CRS.
That was supposed to be. I don't know if that went funny or not.
Did we cover that already?
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but Big Aaron's got little CRS there. Can't remember
Can't remember shit. Nice.
Shit.
Yeah, getting hit her head hit a few times and then also being a little old, memory starts going.
I'm glad we can
Don't I
actually
know
cuss
it?
on. I'm glad we can cuss on this episode again because last week was rough. Like Jeff kind of asked us to try to keep it PG-13. I don't think we swore at all. If we did, it might have been like shit or damn here and there. So not having that restrictor on us is kind of nice.
Well, not having me around
Honestly,
helps because I swear a lot. Yeah.
that might have been the reason why, but like I would say, like listening through it, it wasn't noticeable though. You guys might have noticed it, but it wasn't noticeable. Like it didn't like take anything away from it.
Mhm.
Good to know that it's not necessarily doesn't add or detract. It just gets Jen on her fucking case.
Yeah, shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, tits, fart, turd, twat.
Wow. Now Jen has reached out, and our
I
great
think I gotta go
factor,
now.
our great Massonomics Discord mom has said that it doesn't bother her as much as she had originally portrayed.
I know.
So I told her I would stop ragging on her for it on the podcast, and hopefully we'll see her on the podcast one day, and she can tell us all about it.
Yeah, I
I
think
should
we'll
be a
do
great
a
guest.
we'll do a 5 p.m. recording because she's got to get to bed, but we'll definitely knock that out. No problem.
Now I got a fact on here that I really like. Normally, I made it a point that I was going to drop a Jim Carrey reference in every episode, but it looks like I'm not going to need to because we have the fact that you are indeed a Jim Carrey fan. So
Absolutely.
I would like to know, what is your favorite Jim Carrey movie?
Oh man. Um, that's hard to pick.
I agree.
Like, cause I grew up on, watching, like I watched The Mask like obsessively as a kid.
Me too.
Watched Ace Ventura several times. Dumb and Dumber. Even the new one that they did was still pretty good. I honestly though, I think it would probably have to be Ace Ventura, the first one, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. Strictly because the beginning of that movie, because I remember being like, I think what that came out in the early 90s. So I was probably like 7 or 8 years old when that thing came out. And watching this movie, he saves a dog, he delivers it to that woman. She's dressed scantily and whatnot. And she's like, "Oh, I don't have any money. How can I repay you?" He's like, "Gee, let me think." And then, she does her thing. He's moving all over the place. And then he's just like, "Wow, I got a lot of pee." And I'm just sitting there like that's disgusting. Why is she doing that? And I'll admit, like I was probably like 32, 33 when I realized what was going on. Like I was like, how have I not realized that? Like I'm not no stranger to, certain activities. So like, why did I not pick up on that?
And so, I mean, we mostly discussed his comedies. How did you feel about his foray into serious acting? And I will kind of not relegate, but I'll kind of make a quick comparison. A lot of the people kind of dismissed Jim Carrey's serious abilities because he started in comedy, but nobody dismisses Johnny Depp's comedy because he started in serious movies. And I think that if you look at the trajectory and reverse them, those two kind of did that. But Johnny Depp was always able to maintain his credibility. Whereas when Jim Carrey did The Truman Show, everybody said, no, that's a serious movie. He can't do that. But it turned out to be incredible. So did Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I think that's one of the first movies that ever make me cry like a child. So like, what did you think about that kind of foray? And are you a fan of his at all after the comedy?
So I've seen the Truman Show, which I still consider Truman Show a comedy, even though the portrayal is a little bit more, but it's more just about like the overall theme of the movie and less like with the one-liners and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, I've only seen a couple times, so my memory on that's a little foggy. I do remember it being a good movie. I definitely say no complaints about that. Like, I also think he was freaking hilarious in Cable Guy, even though that's not a fun, serious movie, but it is a different portrayal of his comedy. A lot of people don't like that.
I forgot all about that one. Yeah.
And he was also in the number 23, right?
Yeah, number 23.
Yes.
That was like
Yeah.
a murder. It was a very psychological thriller.
Yeah, and I love psychological thrillers, so like that was another good one. What's the movie called? Oh, Bruce Almighty is another funny one.
Yes.
Like even like, yeah, like I mean, literally everything he's done has been gold because it's him. Like he's very funny. The way he can manipulate his face and his voice to like sound like other people and look like other people. Like you just can't ignore that kind of talent.
I have one caveat, and I would say it is one thing that I forgot he did, and I probably wouldn't care if he never did. The Riddler.
I mean, I think that's because that was the first one with Val Kilmer. Well,
The
I mean
only-
that so
The
the
only one
first like
without,
remake.
the only one without
Yeah.
Homer.
But I mean like when they redid them, it was more.
Yeah, he was the first one after Keaton.
It's when Joel
Yeah.
Schumacher took over the franchise. So you had your Tim Burton do the first and second.
Yeah.
And then within the same universe, Joel Schumacher took over and he did the following two.
Yeah.
And George Clooney actually still brags to this day that he was the one that ruined the Batman franchise. So good on him. But I don't think that if I had to list my favorite Jim Carrey movies, that would be anywhere near the top. As much as I am a Batman fan, I think that anybody could have done what he did in that movie.
But that's not a Jim Carrey movie. He's just a supporting actor in that movie.
Yeah, he was like the fifth build guy on that, probably.
Yeah. Not his fault.
I agree. I just wanted to put it out there that unless he's listening, in which case, Jim.
We love you.
It's Big Jim Carrey.
Big Jim. If you're listening to this, it is Big Jim Carrey.
Do we have any Big Jims? I don't. I think Jim's a very popular name in the Discord. I don't know that we have too many because they're jumping out at me.
Well, there's the Massonomics Jim. It's pretty big.
Nice, love it. So, Aaron, tell us about your passion for playing bass. Is that something you were in a band and all kinds of stuff like that? I've limited information on you, so I'm just regurgitating some stuff I found on the internet. So, when you Google Big Mofo, it just says bass. So, explain that to me.
So, actually, if you are strategic enough with your searches, you can actually find my old band. So back in the early 2000s, when I was later like senior in high school, I think senior high school, I played music growing up as a kid, played the saxophone for several years, and then transitioned out of that because I didn't like being in the school band. And then I ended up picking up the bass, partially because like I had buddies that played the guitar. So I was like, I'm not going to play the same thing that they play. And then first couple days that I had it, I ended up learning, the Pennywise song, Bro Hymn. And I was like, I think I might have a knack for this. Started playing, ended up in a auto shop class with this guy that was a guitarist trying to start a band. So we started things up. And he, found us a drummer, found a singer. And we actually coined a term back then called opera core because of the style of singing that our singer did. He was like in the choir at school, so like he had a very large range. But then scream and yell like crazy and whatnot. It's like when hardcore was kind of becoming a thing and like screamo was becoming a thing. Played several places throughout Southern California. The highlight of that career was definitely playing a little place called the Knitting Factory in Hollywood. Probably one of the best memories I have from that. We didn't.
Is that where you showed Lemmy how to improve his game?
No, actually, it wasn't Lemmy. It was Les Claypool.
Got it.
Les Claypool was trying to figure out how to, what to do with Tommy the Cat. So I kind of showed him a few things and figured it out.
Funny you brought that up. That's actually in there later too. That's good. That's good work.
Yeah, no, it was a good time. Just differences of opinions that didn't go very far, or didn't go further. We did get to a point where we were getting paid for it, so that was pretty cool. But things happen, and I mean, the overall trajectory of my life wouldn't be where it's at now, so I have absolutely no complaints. So, just fun memories.
Now, I actually used to play bass and in a band. Sang in the band, but never played bass in the band. So, because bass to me has always been one of the more interesting and underrated aspects. Being a Tool fan, who is they are just heavily bass driven. And the whole joke goes, go ahead and hum a guitar part from a Tool song, and you're guaranteed to hum a bass part.
Yeah.
So with that said, who is one of your favorite bassists?
Oh, by far Les Claypool. Like he is a god on the bass. I know, like, Victor Wooten is probably more technically technically a better player, like, but Les Claypool, just with the range of what he has done and the fact that Metallica told him we cannot let you join the band because you are too good. Like,
Yep.
come on. Like,
He did. Now he ended up doing a song with them.
yes.
Yeah, he ended up. Was it Tuesday's Gone?
I don't remember which one it was.
It was
And I
on the
think it's
Garage
funny.
Inc. It was on Garage Inc. for sure. I'm also a gigantic Les Claypool fan. Like totally. Um, so I'll give you that one. And one guy I've always really enjoyed, like I mentioned Tool, so Justin Chancellor, right? Um, he's always been I've been a huge fan of his. But how do you feel about Mudvayne?
Oh, Rhino from Mudvayne is amazing.
Because he's got that
That,
bonky
like,
bonk sound, right? The annoying bonky bonk sound, but he does it for metal, like in such a good,
yeah,
fun, interesting way. One of the only songs I ever learned to play was actually that intro to Dig,
yeah.
and
I
then
I
I
was able to do Dig. I tried learning DMV by Primus, but it was too technical for me. I was able to get My Name is Mud.
wow,
Obviously I helped Les Claypool with Tommy the Cat, so I was able to pull that one off. Um, I had a very eclectic style of playing. Like I refused to use a pick because I felt like unless you were the bass player from Rancid, like picks were for losers.
hmm
Um, but like I learned how to play slap bass just because I knew what it sounded like, but I didn't know what it looked like. And so I
hmm
was playing for a couple of years, and I ended up meeting up with my best friend's girlfriend at the time. Her dad was a jazz bassist, and he'd been playing for like 40 years. And
hmm
so I was jamming with him, and he's like, "You do everything wrong, but it sounds good." He's
So
like, "I
like
don't know how
like
you're
Les
able to do
Claypool.
it." Yeah, he's like your technique is wrong. Like he's like, where'd you learn all this? I was like, everything was from sound. Like I would just listen to songs and I'd start playing them. And then I got bored playing other people's songs, and so I'd actually pop my cassette tape into my recorder and I'd hit record and I'd just play for hours on end. I just like had these like wild jam sessions that would go anywhere from like punk to like sounding similar to like what Tool would put out.
hmm
So it was a lot of fun. I don't play anymore just because there was a little bit of uh, I didn't play for a few years just because of what went down with the band. Like, I was a little upset with that. But then when me and my wife first moved in together several years ago, someone had broke into our house when we were moving out and they stole my bass out of there, and I just never
No,
replaced it. I've been meaning to, like, especially hearing like some of the guys talk in the Discord talk about playing music. I'm like, I really got to get back into it. It's been like 15 years since I've touched one.
you never really lose your ear though, right? Like
No, I don't think
I
so.
haven't done anything but karaoke in 20 years. I haven't sang an original song since I was like 17, but you never lose your ear for that. Like, I really like that. I wonder how he does that. Right? You hear
Yeah.
that specific growl or that scream or that saw, and you're just like, I wonder how they do that. So anyway, I'm sorry. It's a bit of a tangent. Keith, I know your internet was a little crazy there. I kind of did it on purpose to give you time to
Yeah.
sort that out.
Yeah, I don't know anything about bass. I listen to, I don't know. I'm not a musician, so that's cool. You guys found a something to, something to jive over, if you will.
Yeah, Robert Trujillo. So he currently plays in Metallica, but I would have heard him first in Black Label Society. He finger picks Battery.
Yeah.
That's when you said he doesn't like you don't use a pick. That's insane. And if you watch him, his fingers look like an octopus because he's finger picking at just what normally people would base or would use a pick for, and that just blows my mind.
Well, I mean, and sorry, Keith, to like just go on a little bit more, but um, so if anybody in the Discord look up Victor Wooten,
Mhm.
um, and he shows techniques where like you obviously they're not gonna see this, but like he
You have the
hit all
longest
four
fingers
fingers.
ever.
I got big hands.
Yeah.
But he strums down with all four fingers, slaps, picks up with his thumb, and then picks all up with all four fingers. And he does this, and it's just like, and it's wild. And like that's another technique I just couldn't pick up on. But like, it's just some of these guys are crazy out there.
Couldn't pick up on it. I like it. That's funny. So let's we can get off the base if you guys are cool. So I got one. Where did the big I know you try to keep most of your anonymity. There's a word there that I can't figure out. The platypus, sucked it out of my brain. But Mofo, where the big Mofo, is there a story there that you want to get into? I know you said something about, is it something band related, or you said if we did enough of a deep dive on Google, we could figure that out?
Yeah, so that also is related to the band. There was so it I won't say my last name, but it's partially related to my last name. And some of you guys might have seen like my YouTube link. You'll see a part of my last name in there. But so the Mofo part is it's a combination. It's like the nickname is Mofo Fernando. Fernando's not my last name, so don't go Googling that. But so it's Mofo Fernando is a nickname that I got from my drummer. And basically I did what every, 18, 19-year-old does when they get a girlfriend and disappear. And so I didn't show up to practices. I didn't show my face around for a while, like for a couple months. And then all of a sudden I go to a party with my bandmates, and I walk in, and my drummer hadn't seen me for like 2-3 months. And he's just like, motherfucking Fernando. And I'm like, what's up? And then, from then on, he started calling me that. He actually made me a MySpace account with that name, without me awesome. Knowing about it. And then
that's great.
And so like that just kind of grew from there. So people just started calling me that. And then, I carried it on. I've always thought it's funny. And like, it's just, it derives from me just disappearing, which nice. I do have a tendency to do. Like, one of the things with, some of the people probably know, with ADD and whatnot, there's an issue with object permanence. So sometimes when you don't see something for a while, you kind of forget it exists. And so that I have a tendency to do that.
Good to know. So it's nothing motorcycle related, as one of the hosts might have implied it to be.
Yeah, he did say big moto guy. Like I've never been into motocross. Motorcycles scare me because I've seen too many people wreck on them. So yeah, not into the motos.
What about dudes? Are you into dudes? And is it a gender fluid term? That's a little harkening back. So you guys might, someone, I was not, that wasn't a jab. That was there was an underlying story there. You guys can get into if you want.
That was me. I was actually hoping you weren't going to bring this one up because no, it's a little more political than I like to get sometimes. But I guess, Eric, do you want to explain what happened and why I was such a silly goose for no reason?
Do I don't know if I'm there goes that CRS. I might not even remember what that was about.
I got you, brother. So I guess you had said in passing that you call everybody dude, and you said dude is a gender neutral term, and I said, well, if that's true, do you fuck a lot of dudes? The reason I do that is because it really tests how gender neutral you think that phrase is. Because a lot of times when a guy says something like, "Oh, dude's a gender neutral term," I go, yeah, fuck a lot of dudes, and you can immediately see them go, "No," and then you kind of go, "Yeah, it's not that neutral, is it?" For no other reason than just like bugging people. No, you went with it, and it was flawless.
I'm here for it. Yeah, I'm here for it. Like, I call my wife dude all the time, and she calls me dude. Like, well, she does it like a little facetiously because my son says dude a lot too.
Yeah.
But like, man, dude, I'm in California. Like, we're okay with everything, man.
Yeah, I know.
There's no hate here.
I just like to tease people sometimes, and kind of when they say something, just go, all right, I'm going to test you on that a little bit.
Oh, I steer into the skate every time.
Yeah, good. That's fantastic. Kieth, what is our next segment? I'm lost here.
I think it's time for Joey's silly question of the week because this is always one of my it's my second favorite probably of the. So I do enjoy when the guest turns around and asks us some stuff, but the silly question is been it's been a hit. I think it's been the talk of the Discord for the most part. It's definitely one of the it when there's banter and stuff. Like I feel that most people kind of because everyone likes to answer questions. So that's why we like the last segment because people ask us stuff. So I think people in the Discord get to kind of be like, oh, the silly question. How would I answer that? So let's do you have one lined up this week? And well, actually, first, do you want to answer mine from last week or have any rate how silly mine was?
I did think of yours, and the answer to your if you could eat anything that was neutral, right? What would it be? See, my problem is I don't count macros and calories, and if I want a beer, I'll drink a beer. Like I'm not on a diet. I eat, and that's my diet, right? Because I'm not here to look any certain way. So like I find it hard to answer that, but I think that if there was something that I could eat all the time with no negative benefits, negative consequences, it would be chicken wings. I would eat chicken wings one meal a day, every day for the rest of my life if I didn't think it would kill me.
So that's a good question. That's a good answer because it actually allows us to steal one more segment from the other podcast. Drums or flats?
Both. I would get bored eating one or the other.
So I'm drum all the way. I hate flats. I think they're weird. I hate that there's extra bone. I don't know. There's something that's more carnivore about it that I just don't dig. I don't know.
You gotta crack those bones apart and eat between.
Well, it's more chicken breast almost. So it's like if I want a big piece of juicy chicken, I'm gonna make chicken breast. That's why I like the drums because it's like it's 80% breading and just a little bit of chicken. So it's clearly not as much protein, I would imagine, but it just tastes better. You get more of that that burnt flaky skin that's the more enjoyable part of a chicken wing. So what about you, Mofo? Flats or drums?
So I am the odd man out in this, and probably the entire crew. I'm about the flavored chicken nuggies.
Yeah, buddy, tossed nuggies.
I don't like fighting for my food. I'm not a hunter gatherer. Like I'm all about efficiency. Like, and I can eat more of the boneless fake wings than I could, fighting through a drum or a flat. If I were to pick one, it'd probably be the drum as well. Which I actually didn't know until recently, until actually the discussion in the Discord crew that the drum was a drumette portion of the wing. I thought they were just legs and they were just calling them chicken wings.
Yeah, I didn't.
But the secret to eating the thigh, right? No. So you twist one end, okay, and then you use your fingers and you push down, and it essentially separates all the meat from the flat and turns it into a drum, and then you can actually just pop it out.
Yeah, but in the time that I've done that, I could put down like 4 boneless
like
wings.
4 tendies. Absolutely. Absolutely. No, and it's like I understand that chicken wings are mostly just a conduit for hot sauce, right? Like I could just genuinely just eat hot sauce on my cauliflower bites or something and get away with it, but ultimately I just enjoy chicken wings, and it's because my mom worked in a chicken wing bar for like my entire childhood. So and there were days where I was really young and I couldn't afford lunch or couldn't, like when I was just kind of on my own at first, I could go to my mom and get chicken wings. Or, when I was 12 or 13 and the treat for dinner, if my mom happened to finish work early, was chicken wings. So I guess I might have a mental association as well, but also just love greasy, hot, spicy as you can make them, burn my face off chicken wings.
So I got one more follow-up. Sorry to kind of hijack your chili question this week with a follow-up from last week. But
right.
Okay, so as your vegetable that goes, chicken wings where I grew up always came with celery. I've gone to places where they serve it with like carrot sticks. I've gone to places where you have to pay an extra $4 to get 2 pieces of celery. What is like a what's the Canadian chicken wing kind of come with? Would it be the same as American?
Carrots and celery. Yeah, it's carrots and celery. Sometimes you get cucumbers, and solid argument that cucumbers are more delicious than all of them. But Usually it's carrot sticks, and the one place I go to has this nice dill dip where it's tossed with dill. It's not ranch because personally I don't really eat ranch, which I know based on last week is blasphemous. But they have a dill dip that's like dill and onion and amazing. Shout out to Firths for having some decent wings and some decent stuff. But it's just carrots and celery, man.
I do like cucumbers. I don't think I've ever had a cucumber with a chicken wing, but I like cucumbers to add bulk to like the deli sandwiches. So if I go to like a sandwich place, and that's not, I don't think that's very common. I don't when I
No.
get cucumbers on sandwiches, people look at me kind of funny, and I'm like, no, it like adds a little bit of bulk to it. It's it's good flavor. It's I don't know.
Next time you make a gin and tonic, muddle up a little cucumber first. It'll blow your mind because the cucumber will interact with that gin, which has the juniper and all that in it, and it'll just absolutely change the flavor of that drink. Because most people use limes, but I started throwing cucumbers in there because cucumbers are much more refreshing.
I'm Mexican. We got to use limes.
I did just buy some Mexican beer and bought some extra limes to go with it. So let's figure that out. All right. So my silly question this week is not, I'm worried it's not that silly, but I'm also worried, I'm also sure that it's going to get some confusing answers.
Nice. I always like that. Yeah, let's hit it.
All right. Tell me about your favorite tree.
Okay, I got one. So I have my parents' house so I lived in the same house till I was like 12, and then I moved and lived to another house when I was like 22 or something. So at that second house, I would have been 12 or 13, and I actually like carved my initials into this big ass tree. And oh, my dad was so pissed. And I'm talking like it's like a huge K and a huge H, at least 12 inch, a foot and a half or so tall, foot and a half wide. To this day, 25 years later, that fucking thing is still there, and it's actually like split a lot of the bark off the tree, and like the K has like split the bark, and it goes up like 6 feet now, but it's still legible that I like graffitied the tree with my initials in like 2000, like 1997. So that is my favorite tree, and that's the story behind it.
Good answer, Aaron.
So the confusion that I got there is like, are you talking about a single specific tree or a type of tree? Because that will net two different answers.
Brothers.
I'd love to hear both.
All right. Well, druthers, I'd assume that you're talking about a specific tree. So I haven't grown up in an area that has a lot of trees. Like we got a lot of palm trees out in California. And depending on, if you were to drive across from north to south, south to north, whatever, there's just so much different types of like foliage, landscape, whatever. So favorite tree particular is this palm tree. I don't remember what kind of palm tree it was, but it was in my front yard at my old house, and it just popped up out of nowhere. Like we didn't plant it there. We didn't it didn't see a bulb just all of a sudden show up there. Just one day, like there's this 1 foot palm tree sticking out of the ground. I was like, where did that come from? And it was like probably like I lived in that house for about 7 years. And it was probably like maybe 2 years into living there. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna leave it. And so I just let it grow and grow. And then I decided I was gonna try to kill it. And I couldn't kill it. And I tried several times. I was like, nope, this guy's staying here. And I don't remember like I said, I don't remember what specific type it was, but it is a type that grows to be about 30 feet tall. So the new owners are going to be surprised in a few years when that thing just sprouts up like crazy if they didn't take it out.
So how hard did you try to kill this tree that you couldn't succeed? Are you out there with like a tiny little hatchet just chipping away at it, or did you like drive some pennies into it, or how did you attempt to kill this tree?
So a couple times I tried to dig it out. Contrary to like what I look like and what some of my heritage is, I'm not that great with physical labor. And like digging with shovels, terrible, like just not great with it. So I tried digging it out once and I gave up. I cut every branch off of it and I was just like stabbing it. Actually I tried digging it out twice. The last time I got it like halfway uprooted and but then I was like, you know what? I've spent 5 hours doing this. I'm just going to leave it. And I just left it, let it do its thing. I trimmed the branches down to like get out of my way when I was cutting the grass, but that was about it.
That tree outlasted you.
Well, I mean, I'm much older than it, but I gave up. I let it live.
Well, I meant in that
Let's
fight.
say,
Like yeah, like in that fight to uproot it, it was you were just like, nah, between my desire to have you gone and my desire to continue doing this.
well, I mean, just like the Empire with the Death Star for the third time, I could always go back and try again.
Yes, yes.
But the other part of that question, or the other answer for that question, um, I love redwoods. Going up to the redwood forest is so amazing. Seeing those,
Mm.
200, 300 foot tall trees that have been around for centuries. Like those things are insane. Like they just,
I've
the
never seen
smell
them.
is amazing.
Yeah.
They look so cool. Like the ones that they got, there's one or a couple of them they carved out so you can drive through them. But granted, it's meant for a smaller car. So when I had a rental, I was renting a big old expedition, and it was too big to fit through there. But still, it's cool to see those trees. Those things are amazing.
Yes. So I interestingly, of all the places in the US that I've been to, I have been to California. And we did go up to the Golden Gate Bridge there. And I believe there's some redwoods off to the side of that.
Yeah, the one I'm talking about is further north, like Humboldt area, which is right on the border of Oregon, I believe.
Okay.
But yeah, I know it extends further down though.
Okay. That's the closest I've ever been to a redwood. Haven't been out west, even in Canada that much. So yeah, that's my silly question of the week. I would answer it. I'll give you a brief answer. It does stem from a tree that I love, and it's this place called the Royal Botanical Gardens here near where I live, which is a conservatory, but as well as a garden. And they have what's called the Mediterranean Gardens. And you can walk around, and they have all these like plants and trees from all over the world. And I've been going there since I was essentially my son's age. My dad would take me, and it is a membership place. You can buy memberships at different varying levels, contributing. In fact, it is there because it was a Canadian gift to the Queen. So if you ever want to look it up, it is one of the most gorgeous places if you like plants and trees. And there was always a eucalyptus tree up in the one corner of the Mediterranean garden near the birds of paradise. They have this big 30-foot tall bird of paradise. And they had a eucalyptus tree. And every time I would go there, and I don't know if you guys ever do this, have you ever smelled trees? I might be psychotic, but sometimes you just walk up and you do one of these, give a quick clap onto the leaves, and the distress will send out the smell of that tree. And eucalyptus obviously smells like mint, but I would do that every time I went for 30 years. And then one day, probably after COVID, when everything kind of opened back up, I went in and that tree was gone.
No.
And it got me thinking at how like weird it is for a human to notice the absence of a tree. And not because it provided shade, not because it provided food, but just its mere presence was gone. And I ended up writing a letter and talking to the main, I want to call gardener, but there's an arborist.
Arborist.
Yeah, we have a couple of them and they told me that it got some rot during COVID, so it had to come down. But they did replace it with a baby eucalyptus. So it's really cool now that I also get to have my son grow up with the son of that tree.
That's actually really cool. I appreciate that story a lot. How much of the tree do you think it is versus just you did something for 30 years? I mean, you could do anything for 30 years. You could touch a telephone pole for 30 years, and I think you'd still have an emotional relationship with that telephone pole. I can relate. I'm a very habitual OCD person. So having anything you do for more than a couple years, that's everyone should have something like that in their life.
Yeah. But favorite type of tree would be the Japanese maple. Damn, those things. There's a Chinese maple. The red maple that are a little short, but they grow wild. And if the sun shines through them, it just turns everything blood red. They are a gorgeous tree that are impossible to take care of. So that was me answering my own question.
That was the silly question of the week, guys. If you have any answers you want to share in the Discord, we'd love seeing it. Feel free to blow up that channel as the podcast comes out. And, it's always nice to see other people's answers to that. So you want to dive right into overrated, underrated, gentlemen? I think we covered most of our topics.
Absolutely.
So You're
Let's
familiar
do
with the
it.
game there, Mister Big Mofo? You understand?
I think we should. I think we should read the rules.
Okay.
Yeah, I think my CRS is kicking in
So,
again.
underrated, overrated. It's a pretty long-standing segment of the podcast here. We're going to ask you six or so specific questions to you that came up during our research, and you have your druthers to pick overrated or underrated. I would say it's not necessarily if you consider it overrated or underrated, but based off the general perception, and then how you feel that if it's actually overrated or underrated based off the world's general perception of that topic. So, are you
And most importantly, you have your druthers, but you do have to pick a
no
side.
riding the line?
And I'm bringing that up because I made a last minute change in here. And I think I have the hardest one I've ever asked anybody.
Bring it on.
Okay, Keith, I'm going to let you do
Okay.
the first couple because I
Yeah,
didn't put
so-
this there.
Aaron, overrated or underrated? Toe spreaders.
I knew this one was going to be here.
Toe spreaders on Zoom. Actually, let's discuss that for a second.
Yeah. We don't need to go into the backstory. I honestly did not realize that was within the field of view. So when you guys brought it up, I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's too funny. But so yeah, I would say the knockoff $7 ones on Amazon that you get a 5-pack is underrated, but those like $70 toe spreaders that somebody out there sells, that's overrated. Like, do they help? Yes. Is it something that I'm going to spend $70 for? No. I'm flat-footed, so I'm going to do anything I can to help my feet. And I think those have helped me like root while squatting and deadlifting. So I love using them, and there's times where I'll wear them all day long if I'm wearing the right shoes with them. So definitely underrated if you're going with the cheap ones.
And
I'm fine with plain ones.
That's dangerously close to riding the line. Dangerously close to riding the line. But I'll
say underrated overall then.
Okay. That's what I figured you would say. I do enjoy that when you were doing that, I just yelled, "Did you just join this call to show us your feet?" Because we had never seen your face before, and we didn't then either. All right, Keith. Underrated on that one? You go ahead.
Underrated, 100%. Like, I spent from the time I was 11 to the time I was 22, 23, hours on end every single day skateboarding. Wasn't ever any like crazy good, but it's just a lot of fun, easy way to travel. I remember one time we were skating at this shopping center doing this rail that's there, and the security guard comes up and he's just talking to us. He's not being mean or anything like that. He's just, hey guys, you're not supposed to skate here or whatever. And one of my friends is off to the side. He's just like, here's the group of people. Here's my friend. Security guard's my face. He's just slowly walking away, really slowly backing up, and then just runs. And the security guard's like, "Wait, what are you doing?" And like starts running after him. So we all just like go in opposite directions. And like, that's something skateboarding brought me. But definitely underrated. Sucks that they like put those stoppers on walls and rails and whatnot, so people can't skate on them anymore. But underrated for sure.
Nice.
All right.
I'll do my last one here. We can switch it over to Mr. Joey. So this is one that's probably going to get some heated debate from your answer, because I kind of have a feeling what it's going to be. So, overrated or underrated? Sparkling waters.
I will say, the crew's going to kill me. The boys are going to kill me. Overrated. I've tried LaCroix. I've tried Bubbly. I've tried, I don't think it was Polar. There's a couple other ones I've tried. And it's probably because I don't have the greatest sense of taste. But when I taste them, all I taste is like the absence of flavor and then the carbonation. And I'm like, maybe it's because I grew up drinking soda and expecting a lot of flavor, and I don't get it. But that's why I got that sparkling ice one, because it actually does taste like what it says it is, versus like someone whispering, lemonade in your ear when you're drinking it.
The essence.
So yeah, I will say overrated, but I respect other people's opinions, and if you like it, cool. You can be wrong.
And if you're asking about this one that I've been drinking, that's definitely overrated. It's honestly like it's like drinking a blueberry cheesecake. It's just too much.
That sounds wrong.
All right, our next one comes from one of the hosts.
Interesting.
Overrated, underrated. Tanner wants to know, and I know I said his name, but it is relevant. Motocross.
Man, I'll say underrated just because even though it is relatively popular, it's popular within a specific community. So I don't think there's a ton of people out there that love it or that are fans of it, but like the people that love it are really into it. It was cool watching like the X Games growing up and seeing what is it? This is Travis Pastrana when he got into it, doing some crazy tricks that just weren't being done beforehand. I remember this one guy, I don't remember his name, but I think they called him Ticks because he had Tourette's. And so like he would be out riding the course and like having this little like ticks pop it up, and like he'd be, approaching a ramp and you see his head like cocked to the side and like see get up in the air, do some crazy backflip tricks and whatnot, land and just start ticking again. It's like, man, that's gnarly. So, well, not something I get into. It's cool to see that. So I would say underrated.
All right. And then the final two are from me. They are little adjustments that I've been making while we've been going. So hopefully they don't fall flat, because every once in a while my OU tends to take a swing or a miss. All right. Overrated or underrated, left-handed screwdrivers.
Well, obviously, I'm left-handed. Is that a thing? Like,
no, God, no, they're a screwdriver. They're just ambidextrous. But it
wouldn't surprise me if
it
it was
said
a thing.
overrated, underrated, being left-handed, and I'm like, that's not funny. So I was going to put left-handed scissors, but I just wanted to throw out the whole left-handed screwdriver thing because that's way funnier.
I'm going to go into a little bit all like if somehow that's a thing, I would say underrated because, being left-handed, like there are certain tools that you can't use properly, like some power tools aren't designed for you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things that just aren't designed for left-handed people. So I would definitely say anything that's left-handed is going to be underrated for a left-handed person.
Now now my sources here
ahead.
say that you also opened the left-handed emporium like Ned Flanders at some mall there in California. How did that weather?
So I got my inspiration from watching The Simpsons.
Of course.
Seeing Ned Flanders open up the Leftorium. The problem was I opened it in a city where there was only right-handed people. I didn't do my market research to see where my population was. I poured like all of hundreds, maybe tens of dollars into that. So it did take me about a week to recover from that, but it is what it is.
Okay, tangent. Have you heard Oakley Dokley?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so that when they did the version of the Leftorium, the All That Is Left, and turned it like into a metal song and made it sound like all that is left, like pure evil. Fantastic.
Yeah, I've only seen like a handful of videos on YouTube, so I don't like if you say, hey, name this song, I'm not gonna name it.
Yeah.
But like if you played it for me, I might remember seeing it.
All right, if you happen to go and listen to their version of the Leftorium, the All That Is Left, it's some really good hardcore metal, but also making Ned Flanders seem a little sinister.
Yeah.
All right. The last one, which is either A, going to get us in a ton of trouble, or B, could be really funny. Overrated or underrated, Lemmy.
Said Lemmy?
Yep. Lemmy Kilmister.
So when it comes to music, I'm not great with names. I care about like what the song sounds like. I might not even be able to name the song unless it's like, Primus songs or
so he's from Motorhead.
That's what I was trying to remember. And he just passed away recently, right? A few years ago.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, I want to say underrated, man. Motorhead's a great band. Like I can't name songs, but like I've never heard one of those songs that I didn't like.
Yeah.
So you put it on, I might not necessarily recognize it, but you're like, hey, come listen to some Motorhead.
Ace
I'm
of
gonna rock out
Spades.
to it. Oh yeah, dude, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I originally had that as Les Claypool. And then when I asked you the original Lemmy thing and you changed it to Les Claypool, I was like, shit, I gotta change this. Because I actually should have not brought up the bass earlier and brought it up for the overrated, underrated. And then we could have told the story about playing bass. But yeah, no, definitely Lemmy. I would argue adequately rated. I think most people in punk and metal do love Lemmy. But I mean, trick question, Lemmy is God, right?
Airheads.
I mean, I think if you go by the time of when that music was more popular, like what outside of Rush, you didn't have a lot of like bass players standing out.
Mm-hmm.
So, like it in just throughout music history, like there's not a lot of bands that have let the bass player, shine.
Yeah.
So any band that does that, I'm a fan of.
He once called the worst band in the world, and it turns out it was damn Lemmy Kilmister. I think the next section is being updated. I love the internet. Keith, what are we doing?
I think we need to do a little sponsor read. Is Aaron? Do you want to do a little riff of a little sponsor read from Massonomics, or tell the listeners why they should be supporting members? Any little stroke the ego of the other host just a little bit more, I guess.
Well, I mean, like, let me see if I can get into that advertising, like announcer voice, like reading mode. So do you want to learn how to get strong, stay strong, and use your strength? Do you like lifting hard and living easy? Well, if you do, come on over and join the Massonomics Discord crew. That's at massonomics.com/join. Do it now. You probably missed out on this gift that's going out, but there's plenty of perks. Perk City over here. Again, that is learn how to get strong, stay strong, use your strength, live hard, live easy.
That was perfect. And you did hit on one. You did hit on one thing that I want to touch on. There's been a lot of talk about what the gift is. I think everyone's got their own opinion. Do we want to? I mean, it's kind of like those things. Like if it's like when you're guessing your birthday present and then you do get it right. It's just kind of like it's almost anticlimactic. It's like, do we want to go and give a little what we think it might be, or just kind of we'll all find out in the next week or so. Just
we know it's not slides.
No,
so we know we're not getting the slides that don't exist.
Jack might have sent a pair to someone, who knows? Like he probably just bought.
It's either nothing or slides.
For sure.
Knowing Jack. Or if you're Spoon, nothing ever.
Yeah, shit happens. That's awesome.
The post office stole. You want to hear about some hot takes on pea gravel versus sand? Go ahead and join the Massonomics Discord. I don't know. I might have been feeling salty today, so I do want to apologize to Big Dave. Just a little salty.
One of the Davids.
I can't imagine having an opinion about something like this, and I felt kind of bad about saying that. So sorry, man. Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good banter. It's all great banter.
Yeah, I think most of us don't take ourselves that seriously in there. But I was kind of mulling over how I might have come across when I said that. When I was just like, nah, I'm just kidding. I don't give a fuck. Like, can't imagine caring about what people put in their sandbag. Like, having a salty opinion about that.
Are you getting strong? Are you
staying strong?
Using your strength.
Yeah,
exactly.
Then keep it up.
We're good. I did want to point something out that I thought was funny, and I put it in the Discord. I don't know if anybody saw it, but so when Tanner first one of the hosts put out that picture, right? I just glanced at it, and it looked like it was a large box on a hardwood floor.
Oh, I did see that. That was
with
great.
with envelopes that were big, and I was like, I was like, they're probably going to send out like medium-sized checks for like $1 to everybody, and this is going to be so hysterical. And then I looked at it again, and I was like, oh no, that's normal size envelopes, and it's sitting on a wood table.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to put my glasses on.
You got out angled. You
Yep.
got out angled by Tanner.
So you need
And I
so you need glasses, and you have a taste disorder. Was there anything function right on you, Mr. Big Mofo?
his
Yeah.
whiffs.
But
yeah, exactly.
that
Only one
was
matters.
more of a bad segue.
My
But
lips.
because we talked about food a bunch, and you touched base. You a few different times you mentioned that you have a poor sense of taste. Is that something? Is that something new? Is that something you've always had? Is that something? What's up with that?
So it's not. It's more like it's degraded. I wouldn't say it's like poor. It's because I have a bad sense of smell, and I don't know if it's because I have like severe seasonal allergies that last year round, or it's because I spent 20 plus years of my life with a deviated septum. I got that fixed like a handful of years ago. So like, I don't know what the cause of it is. But yeah, like unless something's like really pungent, I won't smell it. Obviously like there's things that I taste that I like, and there's things I taste like that just gross me out. Like, but yeah, for the most part, like I would say I don't experience flavors to the same degree that other
That's
people
very
do.
sad. That's like one of the sad. I, I guess it would be a good thing though. That's got to help keep your diet in check though. Like you don't like if shit doesn't okay, so it
I
still
wish.
doesn't. So you can still taste fat and know that it's awesome.
Well, I'm very skilled at binge eating. And it's funny you mentioned it. I think last week's podcast about like when it comes to like donuts, cakes, or like things like that. It's if it's put in front of you, you just engulf it. And like I'm the same way. Like I can put down a box of donuts and not even bat an eye.
Good to know.
I may or may not be making a meme. Talk amongst yourselves. Tune into Instagram for
That's
all your
funny.
laughs right now.
So you are a garage gym lifter, as it looks like. Is that something you've been like? So have you been a commercial gym guy, or are you pretty much solely into the garage gym now?
So, and this is something that I found like it's a little surprising to me, but I guess this is more common. Like I discovered lifting as a teenager. I initially started lifting in my bedroom with a Weider bench press that I bought off my cousin when I was like 15 years old. And then we got into lifting at school for initially wrestling, and then like I was able to do it as like an elective class. Then I didn't lift for a couple of years and got back into it when I was like 19 years old. But I went to the commercial gym. I went to 24-hour fitness for several years, seeing all kinds of crazy things in the gym, all the memes that you've seen. I grew up lifting before YouTube, where you had to like wait for the next month's issue of, Flex or Muscle and Fitness or whatever to see what the next workout was and things like that. So yeah, but COVID is what drove me into going to the home gym life. And I mean, while I don't have the best setup, I'm very grateful for it, and I will never go
It's got to
back.
be beneficial too. You're saying you're driving like up to an hour a day. So if you got to think you're working 8 to 10 hours a day. You're in a car for 2 to 3 hours a day. That leaves like 3 or 4 hours, and then you're trying to go to bed. So yeah, trying to squeeze a workout in. There's no way you could justify
Exactly.
doing 3 hour. I'm sure the closest gym to you's got to be at least, or well, depending on where you're at. I don't know how bad the traffic is, but you're talking 2 to 3 hours. You're talking 2 to 3 hours to go to a commercial gym and get any kind of workout in. So what?
Yeah, it's way better having it at home. But you save so much time. You do run into the issues like where I like when I get home from work, because I'm just tired from the drive. I like to chill with the wife or with my son for a little bit, and sometimes I get so relaxed doing that I end up not lifting. But still, like I can make those lifts up on the weekend too, and I just do it whenever I want, and I don't have to wait for
Yeah,
the
I
rack.
feel that the days that I'm the most active, the days that I get my best workouts in are obviously Sunday because that's just when I have my friends over. But then like Friday, because it's like there's no pressure to get up and go to bed, there's no pressure to go to bed at a certain time because I don't have to get up and go to work on Saturdays. So for me, I always try to get my two big workouts are Friday, Saturday, and then I get 1 to 2 workouts during the week, and it's just kind of, typically there are certain days, but if I have a shitty day, it's no big deal to move it one way or the other. But the Friday and Sunday are just always a constant in my training. I'm very lucky to have that.
Yeah.
But do you have anything you'd like to ask us? This is a relatively new segment that it's pretty much my favorite segment because I love talking. So what do you have for Joey and I? Do you have anything anything good? The bar's been set pretty high the last few weeks. We've had 2 or 3 weeks worth of good content, so you cannot let us down.
Yeah, I will say it might not equal to what those guys have come up with one of them so I actually have 2 questions. The first one is, who do you think you are? And the second one is, I don't remember your backstory, Big Keith, for gyms, but I remember Big Joey mentioning like boutique gyms, and I talked about the commercial gyms. I've seen some weird shit in commercial gyms and going at all hours of the day, all hours of the night. I'm just curious, like, what's the weirdest thing you've ever seen at any kind of public gym?
I've got 2 that come to mind. So LA Fitness, local to me, big commercial. It's just your 24-hour. It wasn't even 20. It's a big box gym, pool, sauna, hot tub, all that jazz. So I said, which one? Do you want the worst one or the second worst one first? So I've got 2.
Most out there
so I'm going to go with the one that's not the worst. And that is, so this will prelude to how bad the worst one, in my opinion, was. So walk in, I can tell the hot tub's closed because they got a sign on it and there's no one physically in it. And the jets aren't physically on, like where you'd like turn the dial and they go super on, but there's always a circulation pump going. Someone early in their day had an accident and took shit in the hot tub, and they scooped it out the best they could, but there's still shit particles circulating around in the center of a hot tub that I've spent hours in. So I did not get in. I did
hours. Would you hours before or after
both,
the shit?
But it was probably 6 months before I got back into that hot tub. I waited till they.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't immediately. I enjoyed how you're like, there is shit floating and I spent hours in there. And I was like, today?
Like
with the shit? Like, but there's a Kieth shit soup that people can go and taste right now.
No, like I would have been a member there for like 3 years prior and spent 20 minutes a week or so in the hot tub, and then waited 6 months until it had been drained and flushed at least 3 or 4 times before I think I stepped foot back in it again. So, and that is not my worst public gym story. Some people might consider that worse than the other one because the other one's a little more medical, but I think it's just disgusting. So everyone has a naked people in the gym, like in the locker room. I've seen, everyone's seen 100 dicks in the locker room. It's not a big deal. That's not the problem. So
I have not, by the way.
Then
nope.
You just have gone to.
Then you haven't had the full gym experience.
Gyms where people don't actually change. So probably a gym that didn't have a shower, then I imagine, because you go to any gym that has a shower.
Correct. Yeah. They were a boutique, right? So they were just independent. They had single stall showers. Because don't show your
dick that's a Canadian thing. You guys don't look looking at dicks, but I don't like looking at dicks. It's just something you go to a commercial gym, you're going to see a dick. I don't know. It is what it is. But so it's in the vein.
It's a Canadian. It's only a Canadian thing to not want to look at dicks.
That's true.
Thanks for that, Keith.
But so the one that still irks me to the day is naked old dude in the sauna with a catheter coming out of his penis, going into a piss bag, actively filling up with a towel on his shoulders, not covering up his dick. That's the worst thing.
Well, what if his shoulder was cold?
It was 140 degrees in the goddamn sauna. I don't need to see your dick urinating into a piss bag. And like, I get that some people might not consider that as bad because it's a medical thing, but like, what the fuck? Cover up your penis, man. Like, I don't want to see a little 1-inch nubbin with a catheter coming out of it.
But as a Canadian, I just would not have looked at his dick.
Like, you can't, like, it's just there. It's like the sauna is shaped like a U, and I'm sitting I'm sitting directly above and across from him, and I'm just like, well, I got to get my sauna in, but I guess that memory, I could, that's
all right. So Big Keith's new nickname is Meat Gazer.
Yep, Dick Looker.
Whatever. Dude is not.
Dick Farm Hunt. Dick Farm Honey Cut.
If you guys want these sound clips, I'm not finding
them. So to answer your first question, do you know who I think I am? to answer your second question, like personally going to a commercial gym, the commercial gym I went to, I strictly went for deadlifts. Like I only went there because they had a deadlift bar. And I always tell the story of I don't go there anymore because I came in and I started walking towards the deadlift rack. They only had one rack with a free bar, with a power bar. And some kid raced me there to do shrugs. There's 3 open hydraulics machines. So I don't know what they're called. We'll continue along with the Joey doesn't know things. So it's a bar, but it's attached to hydraulics. So it still goes up and down and side to side.
A Smith machine.
No, because the Smith machine
I don't know
goes up
whether
and
it
down.
goes up and down and in and out. That's weird.
So these, they're safety machines, right? They're just there for older people to use and still get some resistance with the barbell. There's 3 of those open, but this kid races me towards there so that he can do shrugs with the only barbell in the gym. And that was actually the day that I swore I'm never coming back here again. And that is when the pit first opened up. One of the other ones was in an unnamed gym I go to. It was primarily older people, but as some younger people started to join, that would mean that young, attractive women started to join. And one of the funniest things you can do in a gym with other people is when there is a young, attractive woman, is watching the reactions of people around her. And watching them either A, not try to hide eye contact at all, or B, desperately try and hide eye contact. And I do recall that day specifically looking at her going, that's an attractive young lady. And then going, oh my God, I'm in for the best show ever. So then I just went to like the Stairmaster so I could just look over the gym and watch everybody in the gym. And that was actually probably one of my favorite times, is just going like, gotcha. Oh, you should stop. Like just doing one of those. But
there's a creeper.
Yeah. Well, also like not a creeper. Really trying hard not to be a creeper. Good for you. And right? But I mean, being married and completely done with human beings at the time, I have the luxury of not wanting to look at people half my age. But either way, that's getting into Joey Swole stuff here. Goob's going to call me soon. Call me out for Joey Swole's going to, you don't do that. Mind your business.
Don't call out to anyone.
But yeah. Mind your business. Do better. Actually,
I would like to see him get on the main podcast. You know, it would be a good interview, I'd imagine.
Tanner and I talked about it briefly. You know, I was tagging him in a lot of posts and trying to gather up some support. But he seems to have a media team that you can't get past. Plain and simple. You just can't get past them. You've got to put in an official request. He's probably going to ask for money. And I just told Tanner, I give up. Like, it's just not going to happen from our end. It's going to have to happen from now. Lindsay Loves to Lift, who is lifting at the Lift Hard Live Easy. He follows her. So if we wanted to tag her in, to get him, I mean, we should also have her, if I'm really pushing it, like talking about potential guests for the main podcast. We should have her as well as him, but it just wasn't going to happen. He's behind a media paywall.
I always prefer the guests that are like, at least follow Massonomics. Like I get they've done however many hundreds of episodes. You're going to run out of people that actually follow you, but like it is just more enjoyable when they at least know something about you. I mean, I guess for the interview point of view, it might even be easier for the host to like interview someone that doesn't know shit about them, because then it's like a complete blank. They don't have to play up to any of the bits because there's no expectations from the guest. So I could see the benefit of that. But like, I don't know, as a consumer, it is just always more enjoyable when there's just more of the banter and everyone gets the bits.
I agree.
It's more natural. It's more natural.
Yeah, I agree. And I've said it kind of, you know, it's always better to interview somebody who knows what you're going to talk about a little bit. Right. When somebody who hasn't listened to our podcast, who hasn't listened to a single episode, and they ask us, "Hey, can I be on it?" And it's like, yeah, eventually, but like you should probably know what we're doing before you ask to be on. And I do think that some of the best ones we've had are people that have always been on Massnomics, like that Boston guy from Canada. He was great from King of the Lifts. He was good because he knows he was into it. And Rob Paga, Vintage Wade's Paga, he was into it. Like, he knows. Grant is one of my favorite because he is us, who just happens to own the Strength Co, but also is like one of the crew. He just has fun, and hanging out with him at the Arnold was amazing because like he just welcomed me into the Strength Co booth. I'm a nobody, and him and John welcomed me into the Strength Co booth. But him interviewing is so much more fun because he's on the inside jokes, he's on the buzzwords. So I agree. It's always better when somebody kind of knows what's up.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, boys, do we want to bring this in for a landing?
Yes, I zoned out for a minute there because I decided to post a meme.
Yeah, I've been looking for it, but I'm like I wasn't tagged, so I'm gonna have to just.
I put it on the you and you.
Okay, yeah.
I kind of really wanted to reference that Aaron is smell blind, just like Dewey Cox. Do you remember Dewey Cox? I feel like we don't talk about
him. He sounds familiar.
He's from Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story.
The spoof of Walk the Line, right? It's like he basically is like the Johnny Cash. Isn't that the?
I don't think I've seen it.
Ooh, we're gonna have to get you in on that one. So that one is it's a spoof of all those music biographies that were done, kind of in the 2000s. The Ray Charles, the Johnny Cash, all of these ones. But it's John C. Reilly, and it's a comedy, but if you like country or rock music at all, I think
I'm familiar with it. I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, I think you'll be, if you haven't watched it yet, you will be very shocked at how good the music is. It is so surprisingly good from a soundtrack perspective, because all the original music was created just for this movie, but it's like different variations of like old Johnny Cash songs and old Ray Charles songs, and then there's some rap songs thrown in just to be funny. So if you get a chance, check that one out. Well, welcome to the movie podcast. Underpaid. Some Jim Carrey, some John C. Reilly.
I consume a lot of movie podcasts. Like I do, ironically, listen to a lot of movie podcasts. Like just recapping movies from like the 80s and 90s, like my childhood movies. Like just like there's a couple of them that I listen to. They're really enjoyable. So that is actually a thing. Okay, so yeah, let's bring it in for a landing, boys. You want to do? Go ahead and follow us on Instagram at Unpaid and Underrated Podcast. The website unpaidinternpodcast.com. It's where you can find all us and all our glorious information that Nate diligently puts together to get these podcasts pushed out.
I still need a bio. Like I don't have a bio on there at all. I think it's just my dumb face. So
you have a better picture because mine is just like the silhouette of me, or it's my picture that just gets copy and pasted and everything else. But my bio is likes orange or likes the color orange, and it's just like the one like sentence.
But not incorrect.
Yeah, so it is factual.
That's appropriate.
I get a kick out of it. But yeah, that's where you can find us. Mofo, I don't think you want anyone to follow you on Instagram, so you probably don't want to shout that out, but do you have anything you want to basically do you want people to add you as a friend on Discord? Because that is a thing that they could do without, still keeping your anonymity.
Yeah. So, I mean, on Instagram, I don't post anything anyways. Like I don't put anything out there. So it's pointless.
Oh no, I tagged you in that meme.
And that was the first time I actually saw.
Should I remove that?
Yeah.
Should I remove that?
No, you're fine.
Dope,
you're good.
Dope.
I would have already hit you up.
Oh, now, okay. So most importantly, though, when your Rush cover band comes out, how are we going to find that?
So I actually wear a Nixon mask while we perform to hide my face. So, I think on that one, I'll go by that Mofo bass guy. So just look for that. Every picture is gonna have a Nixon mask on, so I'll still be good.
It'll be like a mix of Point Break. So it'll be a Rush cover band, but you change all the lyrics to a Point Break
I was literally just gonna say Point Break. Yeah,
exactly.
That's hysterical. One of my favorite movies. This is the longest outro we've ever had. All right, guys.
I hate to say it, I'm having fun. I kind of don't want it to end.
Anything else, Mofo? Anything that you don't think we covered? Anything you want the world to know about you? Anything that you think that Joey and I should say about ourselves that we haven't shared? This is your closing argument.
No, I mean, keep on doing your thing. Thanks for having me on. Definitely, if you guys need someone to sit in, I want to find you guys being out, I'll put my name in the hat. My availability is iffy. That's the only reason why I never volunteered to be like a full-time guy. But if I'm available, I'd have no problem sitting in if need be. But yeah, you guys are doing great. Keep it up. And then everybody out there, don't forget to join the Discord crew, massnomics.com/join. And you'll see me on there, that Mofo Guy.
All right, and you can find Big Aaron, the Mofo Guy, on Instagram at Unpaid and Underrated Podcast. And I'm Big Kieth. You can find me at Kieth Honeycutt 73. You can follow my Orange Gym at the No Wine Cellar. And Joey, where are you at, buddy?
I am at Joey _ Melesko, MELECZKO. Also, I do run the Instagram for Unpaid and Underrated at the moment. So if you hate the memes I post, that's fine. Also, though, guys, forgot to call Big Matt again.
Oh, man.
Big Matt at Mostly Squat Videos. Man, like, we really want to get to you. It's going to happen, I promise. But it'll happen next week.
It's probably a good thing we couldn't get to him this week because he's still over in the UK, it looks like, right? I believe. I've based off his stories, he is definitely not stateside. I think that's implied, but I might be way off base, but I'm pretty sure he is not currently in America. But I don't know.
Who?
All right.
All right, guys.
All right. We will see you next Tuesday, boys.